Hello and welcome to How to Survive. My name's...
Got stumped by that one, did
Yeah,
you?
well, no, I'm just...
Oh, God.
Hello and welcome to How to Survive. My name's Chris, and on the podcast this week, it's Hellraiser, a story about an insane, sex-crazed pervert who will let nothing stop him in his quest to satisfy his depraved carnal desires. And he's here tonight, Joe Sherville.
Great stuff.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Having watched Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Because that, I mean...
Well, don't spoil what you think about it, Joe, will you? If you haven't heard How to Survive before, then welcome. We accept all into our broad church. We're a horror movie podcast, and we like to recap the plot of the films, full of spoilers.
Yeah.
So you've had 31 years to see Hellraiser, so if you were saving it for the upcoming bank holiday weekend, then maybe stop listening now before we spoil it all, what there is to spoil.
Yeah.
And after that, we'll talk about the film, what we liked, what we didn't like, and then after that, it's on to our flagship How to Survive chat, in which we determine how the characters, or indeed us, if we were in the film, would survive.
Good. It's a very structured discussion of how we run things.
Exactly. Bullet points.
Yeah.
So this is your final spoiler warning for Hellraiser. On with the show.
I have seen the future of horror. His name is Clive Barker. Hellraiser. Beyond any terror you have imagined. A nightmare.
No.
Unlike anything you have witnessed. Is born. Because within these walls, the unholy is unleashed. Hellraiser, a film by Clive Barker.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Sexual deviant Joe Sherville. I mean, Frank.
God almighty. You just... Why do you use this podcast as a platform to make people think I'm a pest?
I'm basically Edward Snowden, you know.
What?
Leaking the truth to the public. It's in the public interest. Sexual deviant Frank buys a mysterious puzzle box from a mysterious Chinese salesman in what Wikipedia tells me is Morocco.
Right, that was unclear. I thought it was in the Basildon or something.
Yeah. Taking it back home to England, he opens it in his attic, only to be abruptly impaled by several hooked chains. The room then transforms into a sort of torture chamber, with pieces of Frank's flesh stuck on various spikes and strewn across the floor, including his face with eyes intact somehow.
Yep.
A mysterious figure with pins sticking out from his head picks up the puzzle box and resets it, which also resets the room, taking Frank's remains with it.
Great start to
Several
an amazing film.
Several months later, Frank's brother Larry moves into the house along with his wife Julia. Julia finds a collection of Frank's sexual photographs, and we learn through a flashback that Julia had an affair with Frank on the eve of her wedding to Larry. While moving furniture, Larry cuts his hand on a nail. In the attic, his blood drips into the floorboards onto some of Frank's remains, which are underneath the floorboards.
Where else would they be, man?
Yeah. And this regenerates Frank into a skinless, zombie-like creature. Fiona discovers zombie Frank and agrees to find and kill men for him so he can regenerate fully and run away with her.
Yeah, he basically plans to eat the flesh of the men
Yeah.
in order to regenerate his own body.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you think it is okay because you are a sexual deviant. Over the next few days, Fiona repeatedly brings men to the attic under the pretense of wanting to have sex with them before murdering them with a hammer and allowing Frank to consume them. Larry's daughter Kirsty grows suspicious that Fiona is having an affair and follows her to the attic, only to walk in on Frank's latest feeding. She distracts him by throwing the puzzle box out of the window and fleeing with it, but collapses soon after.
Why does she collapse?
Kirsty wakes up in hospital and plays with the puzzle box, summoning a group called the Cenobites and a hideous monster called the Engineer, from which she successfully flees. Back in her hospital room, the Cenobites explain that they are interdimensional beings who punish those who seek extreme or sadistic pleasures and can no longer differentiate between pleasure and pain. Kirsty reveals to them that Frank has escaped their clutches, and they agree that if she makes Frank confess his sins, they will reclaim his soul instead of taking hers.
So are they like deities? Are they linked with God?
Back home, she discovers that Frank has killed Larry and taken his skin. Frank and Fiona attack Kirsty, and in the confusion, Frank accidentally stabs and kills Fiona, then taking the opportunity to feed on her body. You know, why waste a good meal, Joe? Frank stalks Kirsty through the house to the attic, where she succeeds in making him recite his crimes. The Cenobites appear and reclaim Frank, tearing him to pieces. The Cenobites then attempt to abduct Kirsty in spite of their promise and chase her throughout the now unstable house. Kirsty manages to escape each Cenobite in turn, reversing the puzzle box to banish them to their dimension, all aside from the fat one who has a ceiling collapse on him.
Yeah. So he's still there?
Apparently. I don't know. And Kirsty is saved from a reappearing engineer by her boyfriend. Did I mention Kirsty has a boyfriend? Kirsty has a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Kirsty and her boyfriend throw the puzzle box on a bonfire, but a vagrant, who has appeared in glimpses throughout the film, walks into the bonfire and retrieves the box before transforming into a winged creature and disappearing. In a coda, the mysterious Chinese man offers the puzzle box to another potential customer.
So
that was How to Survive. What did you think of Hellraiser? It's a classic, Joe. It's a cult classic. People love it.
Right. It was recommended to us by Kieran, who emailed in with a recommendation. Subsequently, we've blocked Kieran's email. It's pretty bad. I mean, like, we've watched movies before which we've said are offensively bad. Like Cannibal Holocaust is offensively bad.
Sure.
It's bad on the basis that it is, tasteless and appalling. This is just turgid. Mm-hmm. It's boring.
Yeah.
Right?
That is, I think, its biggest failing. And maybe that's just, modern eyes watching it or something.
I don't know.
But it's just boring.
It's incomprehensible as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many, what do you mean? Like you mentioned like 3 things in that, and I was like, I genuinely making conversation.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? What are they from? They're from another dimension. Are they religious?
It's not really gone into.
No,
I don't think. I think a lot of it is, for this film at least, is written around what they actually say in the film.
Yeah.
And so like. It's called Hellraiser. You could potentially are they from hell? But like, I mean, it doesn't.
The poster and the DVD and stuff has Hellraiser as the title and the picture of Pinhead.
Yeah,
who he's the
he's the iconic.
The Cenobite. But is he the Hellraiser? I assume not. I assume
he's a Cenobite and he's called Pinhead, and he's the leader of the Cenobites, but then the engineer, which is like a sort of...
It's a phallic worm thing with a big mouth on the bottom of it.
Yeah, on a wheelbarrow, it looks like, that chases Kirsty down a corridor. That is apparently the leader of the that is what the Cenobites answer to,
Right.
which is confusing and
Not in the film.
Again, this is like stuff that I've gleaned from finding out that it's called the Engineer and going, why is it called that? Like there's there's nothing about that screams engineer to me. Like
No, there's no engines.
no, and what is it engineering? Other than confusion.
It does that well. It does that very well.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, the Kirsty meeting the engineer scene plays out in a very weird way. So she's basically accosted by her uncle, who is a succubus, right?
Right.
Who is looks like Robbie Williams in the Rock DJ video.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Just like dripping blood on muscle.
Right.
And he's wearing a suit for some reason.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I want to get into this a little bit
Right,
later.
we'll save it.
Yeah.
He's wearing a suit though.
Yeah.
And he
Which is just sodden with his blood.
Yeah. And he says to Kirsty, he basically propositions her in all but saying it.
Yeah.
He says, come to daddy, which is like, is he revealing that he's actually her father? No,
Or he's just a deviant.
He's a deviant, he wants to have sex with his niece. So he starts putting the pressure on her. She escapes, then falls unconscious. Why? We don't know.
Yeah.
The effect of the box, I guess. Then she wakes up and various imagery suggests that she's having some sort of flowering sexual awakening. There's like a TV screen showing a flower in bloom. Then blood shoots into her IV, but there's nothing attached to it. And it's like, oh wait, so is it meant to be it's meant to be evoked that she's having a sexual awakening?
Right, yeah.
Then she goes into the tunnel and meets the engineer, which looks like a giant crooked dick.
Yeah, which then chases her
Yeah.
down you could say vaginal corridor.
This is the thing, right? There's an attempt made at being like surreal art, but it's just interminably boring.
Yeah. So I'd say because it's only 90 minutes long as well.
Yeah.
And I'd say that it feels like at least 45 minutes of that is taken up with Fiona bringing people back to the house.
Yeah.
And
Identical scenes as well.
yeah, they are. They are. And they're devoid of tension, aside from maybe the first one.
Yeah.
And
Because you know exactly what's going to happen.
yeah, and you're like, well, okay, so the way the film is going to pan out, that she's going to have to do this X number of times, and he's going to regenerate.
Yeah.
So you're in a holding pattern until that happens, basically.
Yeah, but then at one point he says one more should do it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't do it's no different. It's exactly the same. He's
Not,
like, oh.
Yeah, not discernibly different anyway.
Yeah.
It's very muddled
Yeah.
and the central conceit is theoretically interesting, artifact discovered opens gateway to another dimension, and with the slant of it being, linked to sexual deviancy.
Yeah.
That's theoretically an interesting idea for a film, but they just take the most pedestrian, and also you mentioned that Pinhead is the iconic thing, and all the Cenobite designs. The first time you see them are sort of jarring and interesting and a
Weird,
bit creative
weird.
and genuinely horrible, right?
Yeah.
But they have nothing to do, and they have no discernible character traits. There's Pinhead, there's the woman.
Well, the womanly looking one.
Yeah, the androgynous,
Yeah.
possible woman, the fat one.
Who does more? We'll call it she, does more talking than Pinhead.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there are some bits that aren't so bad. So the bit where the blood drips into the, remains, and then out of that sort of
the special effects for that are really cool.
Yeah, that scene is amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost, it must be stop motion or something
I
like
believe
that.
so.
But
there's a weird jump at one point, and you can kind of work it out. But it's
genuinely impressive, and considering the budget and the era and everything, it's an impressive feat to get that on screen.
It's a good sequence, but when you've got the weirdest, the rest of the movie is baggy and weird, right?
Yeah.
That sequence is good. It's impressive. You could enter it as a short film.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Well, what the film, I feel like what the film should have been was you almost see it from the daughter's perspective all the way through.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking that Fiona's cheating on her husband, and then there's like
and then
this.
it explains why she's being weird and standoffish because she thinks she's onto her, but actually she's not being standoffish. She's terrified that the monster in the attic is going to kill her.
Yeah, and like the reveal of that would be sort of
Horrifying.
Yeah, and like a gothic horror staple, right? So you'd have like the Telltale Heart type thing, or like Jane Eyre or whatever.
Right.
But it's just devoid of any sort of tension. Yeah. And there's not like, it's quite splattery, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's not so splattery as to be like the interesting thing about it. It's not like The Evil Dead.
No.
Which is a film that I'm going to compare it to a bit later as well. Like, in which the special effects and stuff is a reason to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you could, look up the special effects on YouTube for Hellraiser and you've seen the best bit of the film. You mentioned it'd be better from Kirsty's perspective, and I agree. Yeah. I made the same note. But I think that would be another thing that would benefit from having her perspective is if they'd have a protagonist. Yeah. Because the movie, like, who's the movie about?
Yeah, exactly. There's it shifts to the daughter.
But she's not introduced to like 45 minutes in.
But that's what I mean. It shifts to her perspective from like the hospital scene onwards. But it's sort of jarring because you're like, in films like this, when there's like a crime going on or whatever. Yeah. You want to feel like you're complicit. Yeah. And
not complicit, but like you're picking apart. You're trying to solve the riddle.
But what I mean is, like, if the film embeds you with the bad guys, basically, who have this plan and they've got this like Bonnie and Clyde idea, then you want to see that through, really. Like, but having the first half of that is unsatisfying because you don't get the payoff of when it all goes wrong, right? And having the latter half of Kirsty's story is unsatisfying because you're like, who the fuck is this? Like, we've barely seen her.
It's another thing that confuses. It's minor, but it's like, it's not. They don't say, "Oh, we're in London" at any point. So you're trying to work out where they are because some of them are American, some of them are English.
Yeah, I swear Larry is American and his brother is English as well, which is doubly confusing.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. I think you mentioned there's a shift towards it being Kirsty, who's the main character, but it's not. I mean, who's the guy in the loft? Forgot Frank, right? Yeah. It's not about him because he's the antagonist, right? Yeah. But he's not the antagonist because the Cenobites are the antagonist.
Yeah, well, they're like, is it deuteragonist or something? Whatever it's called, like a secondary antagonist or whatever.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not Kirsty because like she's not in half the film. Yeah. And then is more or less passive for the past years.
It feels like it's Fiona for the start of it. Yeah. But then she's like without any reason to care about her.
No, exactly, because she's not likable. Yeah. You learn that she had an affair. I think none of her like actions have any grounding in any sense of reality. No. Because it's like you wouldn't do this. Yeah. It's honestly freaky and weird. Yeah. And it's when I say freaky, I mean it's freaky that it's a freak of a film because it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. It's like Clive Barker clearly had a kernel of a good idea and then just like maybe it went through too many rewrites, maybe it was just unfilmable or something. It's weird.
Stephen King is a big fan of this film and of Clive Barker's work, and basically said Clive Barker is the new, king of horror. Yeah. I wonder whether this was at the height of Stephen King's like rampant coke abuse. Because this is the sort of film that he'd probably watch and go, wow, what a ride.
Yeah. Because the 45 minutes of the same scene playing over and over again really bake it in, don't they? You'd be like, oh, this scene's so good. This one scene is so good.
Do you think some people consider it a horror comedy?
The problem with that is it's not horror and it's not comedy. It is horror. I'm being facetious, but it's not funny.
The bit that you mentioned earlier with Frank wearing a suit that's like sodden with blood, right? That is funny, right? That is genuinely, that made me laugh out loud because it is just so patently ridiculous, right? Do you think, like, is it one of Larry's suits? Is it like one that Frank's had made? Like Fiona had to go out with his measurements, right? Why put it on? He's not going outside, obviously.
Yeah.
Not just like.
Well, it's to save on special effects, so they didn't have to cover
Well,
the rest of his
I know,
body.
but it's just so bizarre and like stupid.
All you have to do is put in a scene of him saying, "I don't feel myself unless I'm wearing my suit."
Oh yeah, that would have been the film's saving grace. But like, there's those sorts of scenes. There are the seduction scenes, which are sort of like cringingly awkward, right?
It's not how people act.
But it's like, it's almost like it's playing up a joke about like that's how British men flirt, which is probably true, like awkwardly and sort of uncoolly.
You mean the ones where they're trying to seduce Fiona?
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
and like
yeah.
people coming up to her in bars and
And they're all like David Brent, basically.
yeah, exactly, right? Like, I mean, all that stuff's just sort of bizarre. And like, is it supposed to be funny? Is it not supposed to be funny?
I don't know.
And then there's like some of the dialogue as well. Like the bit where Frank says, "The only thing I care about is a new skin."
We will win there.
Like, it's laugh out loud funny, but then like how, is it intentional?
I don't think it is. That's the thing. It's just shit. It's just
Because it's
absolute...
not campy enough. Like
exactly, yeah.
The
That's
tone
it.
isn't campy enough. It's not like Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's like, basically has people winking at the camera every 5 seconds.
Exactly, because they know they're in a film, right?
Right,
These
yeah.
people don't know they're in a film.
Yeah, it's an odd one.
Yeah,
Really
like,
odd.
It's something in like you mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street. That is not so much of a horror as it is a surrealist piece, right?
Yeah.
The scenes of like the tongue coming through the telephone in Nightmare on Elm Street are mental, and they're like using special effects to their advantage because it's like you can't have done this before, and it's like it's unsettling and it's funny because it's like it shocks you.
Yeah.
There's nothing particularly shocking in Hellraiser to make you, and it's not surreal enough. It's just weird. A man in a suit with no
Yeah.
skin, right? That's the only part that's like surreal. The rest is just boring.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very strange.
What is it that makes him a deviant, by the way? Because, to be a deviant, you need to deviate from the norm
Yeah.
by, I'd say, a significant amount.
Right. Yeah.
Because what is normal, right? We'd have to poll the whole of like Britain's bedrooms. But all we see is pictures of him having sex with a woman wearing a mask, and then he cuts the clothes off a woman with a knife,
Yeah.
which are unusual. But I wouldn't be like the next step to that isn't I'm gonna transport myself to another dimension.
Yeah,
because that's
yeah.
the only way I can get my kicks now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I wonder whether that is a sort of it shows when the film was made, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Like in the late 1980s in Britain, it probably would have been hard to get like sexual content on screen.
Yeah.
I think originally the idea was going to be that he and Fiona have anal sex in the flashback.
Okay.
And that was cut in favour of him having sex with her and undressing her with a knife. And Clive Barker said that it was like they took out the sort of sodomy angle and made it more violent.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
Which
because
is like, it is an odd decision. Like
Yeah.
maybe in the light of modern attitudes towards sort of sex and violence and
right,
sexual
right.
violence. So like, I guess that's maybe a hangover from the fact that it's made in the late 1980s.
maybe.
But
if you put it on a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And it's say like an American Pie sort of spectrum. You go first base, second base, third base, fourth base, anal, right? That's basically it. So that makes sense. What Clive Barker's saying makes sense.
And that's
It doesn't
like,
go first base, second base, third base, fourth base. I'm going to
Knife.
put a knife on you.
Yeah.
Because that makes him a rapist, not a not
exactly.
a deviant.
Yeah, which is deviant behaviour, but
Yeah.
it's like the wrong
Right,
angle, right?
Yeah.
It's-
And then because the thing he says after they've had sex is, "Oh, this isn't enough for me anymore."
yeah,
Like threatening people with a knife before sex isn't enough for me anymore.
it's
bizarre.
strange. It's really strange. People call it a cult film.
Yeah.
Do you think cult films tend to age quite poorly?
It depends, really. I would say, would you say Evil Dead is a cult film?
I would say Evil Dead's a cult film. That's the comparison that sprang to my mind as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is that watching that recently, as we did, like 6 weeks ago, or
A
however
bit more
long
than that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a joy to watch because of because its tone is more self-consciously fun
Yeah.
than Hellraiser's.
With Now the Night is a cult film, right? Have you seen it?
No.
It's very good, right? It's weird and it's quirky and it's campy and it's kind of like unique because you couldn't make it now and
Yeah.
no one else could have made it. It's just very of its time. It's of the moment. Hellraiser isn't. It's just like, do you know what I mean? There's nothing
Yeah.
in it that's like, oh, it could only happen now.
I wonder if, again, being made at the late 1980s, it was sort of just coming towards the end of the sort of video nasty era of
Yeah,
British
okay,
cinema.
yeah.
And I wonder if it's like almost a response to, you know, British cinema in the 1980s was very safe. You know, Gandhi and things like that. It's pretty turgid.
Yeah.
I wonder if this was a sort of backlash, a one-film backlash against that
The
sort of thing.
censorious, the Mary Whitehouse era.
Yeah,
of,
like I
film.
think it was, and in that sense, it could have, you know, had that sort of cult appeal because it's, you know, you can imagine it. I think it was debuted at the Prince Charles Theatre. That's
Okay.
where it had its premiere in 1987. So, like, you can imagine it being, you know, whispers going around about this film, Hellraiser, and it's about a sexual deviant who summons demons, right? That's
Yeah,
the sort of film that gets
is-
a cult appeal, right?
Yeah, high concept, right?
Yeah, but I think the reason it falls down now, watching it in 2018 in the way that Evil Dead doesn't, is that
There's nothing particularly interesting in it.
no, but like Hellraiser's too complicated in terms of its sort of like weird implied mythology, and the film doesn't do a very good job of explaining it. Whereas Evil Dead is basically there's a book, it summons evil, and Ash has to fight him off, right?
Yeah,
and another big part of why Evil Dead is appealing to watch even now is that Ash is a good protagonist,
And it's very funny.
right?
Right.
And it's self-consciously
Yeah.
humorous, right?
And it's like novel storytelling.
yeah, and those are all things that we've said that are missing from Hellraiser.
Yeah. Quite right. I'd say, I mean, before seeing it, its cult appeal, if you'd ask me why is it a cult classic, it's because of Pinhead.
Yeah,
He's the iconography you associate with it. But he's so like incidental to the plot of the film, really.
yeah. Do you think it's like a jigsaw thing in that, you know, as the series continues,
He becomes more central
Yeah.
because of his iconography.
yeah,
Maybe. Because he is like, it's impressive creature design, I suppose.
right, yeah,
But
yeah,
That's about it.
yeah. And it communicates the what they're going for well as well,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah. I was telling my wife about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't watch it, but I was telling her about it. And she said, why did Frank need to eat those 5 people? And I said, well, every time he ate one, he got the flesh of them and it like baked out his body a bit more. She said, well, there's enough flesh on one body for one body.
Yeah, but
And
is
then
it-
at
is
the
it-
end, he has to like paste the guy's face on.
yeah, it's just weird, isn't it? It's just confused.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you realise, Joe, there are 9 sequels to Hellraiser.
9
sequels
sequels. So
to Hellraiser.
there's 10 total.
Yep. But what do you really know about the sequels to Hellraiser?
Oh no.
Let's find out in my Hellraiser sequels quiz. So these questions are all based around the sequels to Hellraiser.
Are there 9 questions?
No, there's 7. They're not film specific. It's more about the sequels as a whole.
Right. Okay. So it's the story of Hellraiser after Hellraiser 1.
No. It's more meta than that. You'll see.
Okay, right.
Question 1. How many of the sequels feature Clive Barker as writer or director?
None.
Correct. Question 2. Which of the following is not a real Hellraiser sequel?
Okay.
A. Hellraiser Hellseeker. B. Hellraiser Deader. Or C. Hellraiser Genesis.
I'm gonna go with Hellraiser Deader because that sounds grammatically incorrect to me.
Incorrect. Hellraiser Deader is a real Hellraiser sequel. The incorrect one was Hellraiser Genesis. Question 3. Of the 9 Hellraiser sequels, how many went straight to DVD?
I would guess DVD or video.
Straight to home
Home media, right.
Yeah.
8.
Oh, it was 6.
Ah, damn.
The first 4 got a cinematic release.
Yeah. Worldwide.
How many of the films feature Doug Bradley as Pinhead, the lead Cenobite?
All of them.
Incorrect. It's only the first 8 films.
Oh god. Why did he get changed?
Well, it's related to this. Hellraiser Revelations was rushed into production in 2010 in the space of a few weeks and was described as a cinematic ashcan copy. What does that mean?
I don't know.
The film was produced in a matter of weeks due to an obligation on Dimension Films' part to release another Hellraiser film or risk losing the rights to the film series. It was released in a single theatre for a crew screening that was ostensibly open to the public, then released to DVD in October 2011. It has a score of 2.8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Really?
Yeah.
That's like... I love those stories in like movie making where it's just like...
We need the rights.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah. It's
An
just-
ashcan copy is that, basically. It's just a publication in order to preserve like legal rights.
like a legacy thing.
Yeah, and so this is like a cinematic ashcan copy. There you go. Question 6. When was Hellraiser Judgment, the most recent film in the series, released?
2013.
2018.
This year?
Yep. You didn't see it?
What's it about?
Pinhead? I don't know, mate. Question
What's it called?
7.
Pinhead?
That is called Hellraiser Judgment.
Judgment. Judgment. Yeah.
Question 7, the final question. What is the average Rotten Tomatoes score for the Hellraiser sequels?
15%.
Incorrect. It's 12.7%.
Oh my.
The highest rating is Hellbound Hellraiser 2, and the lowest rating is Hellraiser Hellseeker with 0%.
0%.
Now-
My, oh my.
And the good news is, in 10 weeks' time...
Are you joking?
Of course I'm joking. I'll never want to watch a Hellraiser film ever again.
Good stuff. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
I have to say, it did worry me there for a minute.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity is wrapping up, so we need a new series.
Yeah. Well, it's that time of the show, Joe. How would you survive Hellraiser?
First tip is for Fiona.
Mm-hmm.
And you're familiar with the fact that I'm a married man.
Yeah.
It won't surprise you to know that as the host of a podcast
Mm-hmm.
about movies,
Yeah.
I'm always batting away offers from women.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 4 or 5 on the way here today.
Yeah, I can imagine.
My advice as a married man is
Mm-hmm.
to Fiona to stay alive. Don't have sex with your husband's brother on the night before your wedding, no matter how much he threatens you with a knife.
Yeah. Victim blaming? Or
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, let's acknowledge that the film seems to make out that
is consensual.
yeah, and that somehow the knife is less of a threat and more of a turn on, right?
Yeah. I would argue that. Yeah. Okay. Yes, that seems like good advice. Is it changing the character's motivation though? She seems to want to be doing it, and therefore,
well, she doesn't want to be stabbed in the heart and then eaten.
yeah.
So
well, she definitely gets betrayed, doesn't she? She gets the
Yeah.
short end of the stick in the end, doesn't she?
I'd say no sex is so good as to make you do what she does later in the film, which is like basically anything this skinless man wants her to do.
Yeah.
Like, and I understand like the sex. Maybe the sex was good because she's like, I'll do anything. Like, I'll do anything for you to sleep with me again because you were so good in bed. And he's like, which is something I often get that.
Yeah, of course. Your wife is often saying, listen, even if you were skinless and newly reborn and you needed people to be brought to you to be murdered so that you could feast on their bodies, I would do that for you because the sex is just that good.
Because it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what you're doing there is ironic, isn't it? Because that wouldn't happen.
No.
And no one in their right mind would do that.
Yeah. There seems to be like an imbalance in the relationship. She doesn't seem to get much out of it.
Except for the good sex, man.
Yeah, but then that happened once.
Yeah.
And that we know of, and again, like you said, how good could it have been?
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like yeah.
If you think about the best sex you've ever had,
Yeah.
right? Was it good enough to compel you to murder like half a dozen men? Like just to have the chance of that happening again.
Yeah. I would say not.
Yeah, yeah. And that's not a criticism of your best.
Well, no, but I mean, the
Best sex
women
you've
I've slept with often do go on to kill 6 or 7 men.
Yeah,
in the hope of winning my favour.
Yeah. That's a nice suit you're wearing, by the way. It's a shame that the blood's soaked through, but yeah. Hopefully it won't stain.
Yeah. But you take my point. Like, there's no sex that is so good you would stoop to her level.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
just
agree.
don't get messed. Like, don't get caught in his web.
Yeah.
Because it's not. It's
gonna
not
end
one that
well.
makes sense. Anyway,
No. It's not worthwhile, is it? It's not a worthwhile investment of her time.
No.
What she should have done is gone, well, listen, I mean, I'm flattered, but it's about turning down an unwanted advance, really.
Right,
it?
exactly.
Although it is wanted, but like
But it's not-
circumstantially,
yeah.
it's not come at the best time for her, is it?
It's James Bond, isn't it? It's from his perspective, it's 5 no's and a yes, and only when he pulls a knife.
Yeah.
It's like
Laugh a minute.
great.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't really disagree with
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I got a bit of consumer advice.
Okay.
Don't buy dodgy looking secondhand goods from a strange man in a pub.
Yeah.
And that is not necessarily survival advice. It is in this circumstance, but although maybe it functions exactly as he wants, I suppose. But
Just more be careful what you wish for.
yeah, it's just a good tip for life, I think. Because even if whatever the item is, whatever its purpose or function is, even if it's in good condition and functioning without issue, I mean, there's a good chance it's nicked, isn't it? There's a good chance it's fallen off of the back of the interdimensional puzzle box lorry.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't want to be caught handling stolen goods.
No,
You've
exactly,
got a responsibility as the buyer to...
and it's never going to be high quality.
no.
I notice whenever these back of a lorry appliances appear, they're never Sony or Panasonic.
Yeah.
They're always like Blaupunkt or something.
Yeah. Of course, if anyone from Blaupunkt is listening, then please feel free to send us a complimentary soundbar. And worst case scenario, Joe, is that it's cursed and you end up torn to shreds by magical hooks.
That's the only way to describe them.
Yeah.
Interdimensional. What dimension are they in?
You got any other ideas?
Yeah, this is more of anthropological thought,
Okay.
and this tip is for Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Better sex doesn't necessarily mean sex with more partners, does it?
No.
Why not try doing more adventurous things with one partner?
Right, I see. So in a long-term relationship, couples often sort of try out new things to stop it from becoming stale.
Yeah. But what he's done there, he's gone, sex with one person isn't good. Sex with second person isn't good. Sex with third person isn't good. Maybe sex with 50th person isn't good.
Yeah.
Because he's only doing it once. He only has the first interaction with them and then goes straight to the magic hooks.
Yeah. He tries, I think it's implied, having, 1 to 4 all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to kink shame anyone, Joe, though. That's the risk, isn't it? And that's not what we're here to do.
Well,
on
no,
the
this
outside.
isn't how to king shame. This is how to survive.
Yeah.
And he dies because he doesn't commit to one partner.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, it's monogamy is perhaps less in fashion than it was in the olden days. So
I'm not one for hectoring.
yeah,
I'm
you're not
not-
slut shaming him.
No, I'm not.
No.
What I'm saying is, is there an argument that perhaps he would get better sex if he practiced it with the same partner, spoke about his needs,
Yeah.
spoke about
Communication.
her or his needs,
Yeah.
got an understanding of what they like and what they don't like, came to an improvement on each time they had sex.
Yeah.
That would have saved his life
Yeah.
because he wouldn't have given up hope
Yeah.
and gone straight to the interdimensional vortex,
which
which unleashed a race of creatures called Cenobites and led to his demise.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. And I would add that, there are, a lot of it's implied, I suppose, but it seems to be that, there are a lot of stages between sleeping around and interdimensional torture demons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I just want to, maybe suggest that he hasn't exhausted all of his options.
Right. Yeah.
Even if he doesn't want to stick with the partner, because, some people don't find that lifestyle appealing to them.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough.
Yeah, exactly. But, there are other life, there are other activities that he could do before he goes to being torn to shreds by magical hooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair point. You need some bodies, Joe, to regenerate.
Do I?
Yeah. You're looking a little bit pink.
Okay. Yeah.
And you are using some people to get you the bodies.
I
right?
I feel like you're accusing me of something.
No. I'm saying put yourself in Frank's position.
Right.
Why doesn't he kill Larry, Kirsten, Fiona right off the bat?
But he kills two of them.
Yeah, but he doesn't, not until he's basically fully regenerated.
Right. I guess he's a bit embarrassed. If he's walking down the street, it's a bit bait to be like, I'm Robbie Williams in Rock DJ.
Yeah, but then he apparently can just steal people's skin. So even if he's not fully regenerated by the time he walks down the street, couldn't he just, rip someone's skin off?
Yeah, and put it over. Because it's at worst, you're going to look like the guy in Men in Black.
Yeah.
And at best, you can fool the daughter of the person whose face you've stolen.
Yeah. Why not just go outside and kill? If you're into taboo stuff, just go outside.
It's quite
and
the taboo, murdering pedestrians.
Yeah. We'll just go out and kill some pedestrians. There's no,
just a thought. The Cenobites don't know the difference between pain and pleasure anymore.
Yeah.
Does that mean that sometimes they'll be like, oh, we're going to hurt you, but they actually totally
Oh, what? As in they don't know what?
Yeah. And you go, oh, this hurts so much.
Yeah.
Don't stop it. But they're actually
and they're yeah, great. Yeah. Well, so they're oh, here's a lovely glass of red wine and a delicious steak dinner.
Yeah.
And the person's going, oh, it's so painful.
Stop.
Please,
no more.
Yeah, not another one of these, please.
I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. And they're going, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, we've really shown
I think, is it not just pleasure and pain in themselves?
Don't know, mate. The problem is, mate, the rules are unclear because the film is not good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, another tip, I think, just clean up after yourselves properly, right?
Who's the advice to?
This is to the Cenobites, right? They do a very bad job cleaning up the mess they make of Frank's sort of assorted entrails.
Right.
Because there's some still left under the floorboards, aren't there? And that's what ends up with.
Yeah. And everyone knows entrails mixed with your brother's blood means that you.
Well, if anyone's going to know it in this world, surely it's going to be the Cenobites.
They don't know. There's a lot they don't know, I think.
Right.
They don't know the difference between pain and pleasure.
Yeah, that's true. But they basically, I'm just saying they should, before they just up and left in that puzzle box, right? They should have done a full deep clean, right? Sort it out before they go. And, if a little chunk of flesh under the floorboards is all it takes to scupper their plans, then you'd think they'd be more on top of it.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah.
You'd think.
You would think. And yet, here we are, discussing the film.
Yeah. So when he's piecing at the beginning of the film, when Pinhead is piecing Frank back together, do you reckon he's like, what the fuck is the, rib?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but that'll be fine. I'm sure it's fine. Wherever it is, I'm sure nothing will come of it.
Yeah. I'm sure we're missing a bit.
Yeah. What it needs is blood. Even the worst case scenario is it needs blood to.
Yeah.
And one drop of blood is enough to form 35% of a person. Yet.
But then he'd have to get someone to kill a load of people for him.
Yeah, it's unlikely.
It's really unlikely, I would say. Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I'm going down the sex advice route still.
Okay, right.
Because I think we haven't fully explored it. And, so we've said to Fiona, maybe don't have sex with your fiance's brother on the night before your wedding. Because it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
At the best of times. and certainly doesn't end well at the worst of times. Advice for Frank was, maybe try monogamy, because you wouldn't get yourself into any sticky situations with Cenobites. This is for Fiona again, I think, probably.
Okay.
And it would have kept her alive.
Right.
So she seems to be unable to satisfy Frank's desires. Would you agree?
Yeah, it seems to be.
He says as much, I think.
Yeah.
This isn't enough for me anymore. So I thought I'd look a little further afield than Wikipedia
Right.
or IMDb for advice. This is from Cosmopolitan.
Okay.
From an article called "Sex Tips to Spice Up Your Love Life."
Okay.
So this was written by Corinne Miller.
This is unheralded ground as yet for How to Survive.
Yeah,
So
bit Cosmo.
yeah.
Corinne Miller wrote this January 26th, 2012.
Okay. So maybe out of date, but
But still we'll see. Okay. So it's worth noting this was a gallery piece. So it wasn't just an article, it was a gallery where every photo contains the following caveat. The models photographed in Cosmo are for illustrative purposes only. Cosmopolitan does not suggest that the models actually engage in the conduct discussed in the stories they illustrate.
Nice.
So the article begins, Valentine's Day is around the corner, as it was on the 26th of January 2012.
Sure.
And we know you're looking to spice things up with your man to make your love life extra hot in time for the holiday. Yup, these tricks should do it. Right? Mm-hmm. And I think what I've worked out is that Corinne Miller asked a series of women to complete the sentence, "It drives my guy wild when I."
Right.
And these somehow act as actionable tips.
Okay.
And they are: go down on him while eating Pop Rocks.
What, they're like fizzing sweets?
Yeah, popping candy.
Okay.
Um,
That sounds like a recipe for some sort of yeast infection.
it doesn't. We don't see
No, we don't.
Fiona go down
don't.
on Frank with Pop Rocks in her mouth.
No, that's true.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, I have
Maybe-
a feeling that none of these will be in Hellraiser, and I'd be disturbed if anyone has answered by saying, "Oh, it drives my man wild when I get an interdimensional puzzle box demon to tear him to shreds."
Second point: act mysterious, not shady. Mysterious.
Yeah,
Now she doesn't.
is that it?
That's it. Act mysterious, not shady. Mysterious.
It drives my guy wild when I act mysterious, not shady. Mysterious.
Yeah.
He hates it when I act shady.
We're not kink shaming here.
No. I don't think that classifies as a kink to be shamed, does it?
Being shady.
No, she's not being shady. It's very important.
Third point, which seems to be unexplored. It drives my guy wild when I caress my face on his abdomen.
Okay.
We don't see.
No, we don't.
Fiona.
No, it's true. It's true. We don't. Yeah.
Fourth point, watch porn with him.
Okay. That's,
We don't see Fiona watch porn
No.
at any point,
No.
with or without Frank.
Yeah.
And neither do we see Frank watch porn with or without her.
No.
It's presumable that he would watch porn. He seems to be a bit of a deviant. But that seems to be the norm these days.
Perhaps.
If John Ronson is to be believed. Bite his lip.
Okay.
That would perhaps... I mean, he bites a lot of people.
Yeah. He does a lot of biting. Yeah.
Let him grab my butt. I don't think she stops him.
No. Okay. Some of these are like weird, and some of them are like pretty pedestrian.
They're vanilla, aren't they?
Yeah.
Bend over and let him watch.
Okay. Well, I mean, we don't see Fiona bending over.
But, bend over what?
I mean, the thing is, right,
Yeah.
you read Cosmo, and you go
Do I?
home to your boyfriend
Yeah.
or whatever on Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
and you go, right, I'm going to bend over, he's going to watch, and then that's it.
That's it.
That's the evening.
Bend over and let him watch, mate.
Yeah.
You never bent over and let someone watch?
I haven't. No. Is that a thing that you've?
I mean, I've bent over a lot of times and prevented people from watching.
Right.
So maybe I'm being too guarded.
I've probably bent over and people have like, in a non-sexual capacity, it's been witnessed by people. I'm sure that's the case.
Well, it was non-sexual for you.
Well, maybe for them it was incredibly steamy.
Well, according to Cosmo,
it
drives guys wild. Final point was nibble his earlobes, which we don't see that happen.
Earlobe his nipples.
All these tips are just ignored by Fiona.
Yeah,
and it really costs her dearly.
If only she'd read Cosmo, Joe, then she may have known. Well, if you've got any sex tips for us here at How to Survive, then make sure you send them in, howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. Or you can tweet them in if you've got no fear of being publicly outed as a sexual deviant, just as Joe has. Then you can tweet us at HowToSurvivePod.
I have a very healthy sex life where we caress my face on his abdomen. I always act mysterious but never shady.
Yeah. Please do not act shady. And one way that you can avoid being shady, of course, is leaving a 5-star review on iTunes.
Yeah.
Really helps us if you rate and review the podcast.
Yeah, maybe leave a sex tip in the review. That could be quite interesting.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kieran, if you are listening, having recommended this, do not get in touch again. Because unbeknownst to you, you also recommended next week's film, which we also watched and also prepared an episode for.
Yeah.
Children of the Corn next week.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Maybe it'll be a revolution.
I'm going to take down the emails. I think there'll be no more emails.
No more podcast. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Joe. And I don't care about next week's podcast. The only thing I care about is getting a new skin.